Hello all, Jamie Rodgers here from Creative Expressions, and today I'm introducing you to my brand new die collection. We are looking at Wings of Wonder Volume 1. Now that bit's going to tell you, giving the game away slightly, that more will be following shortly. But today we are looking at Volume 1, and I've tried to do this in such a way that we give you an incredible collection. There is so much in this that I'm hoping you're going to really fall in love with. We have got butterflies, dragonflies, panels, backgrounds, corners, borders, a little bit of everything, so that this collection all works together. This isn't 7 of the same idea or 8 of the same idea. It's all different components that when you bring them together and you start layering them and working them together, you can make boxes, you can make cards, scrapbook pages, home decor. Honestly, in the papercraft world, the options are endless. And with this in mind, we'll start off with our first die, which is our panel die. But before we go there, I've got to remind you that today is the 28th of February 2023, just in case you're watching this a long time in advance. And this is actually a worldwide launch that we're doing today. So it will be available from all of your favourite Creative Expressions stockists all over the globe. So wherever you are, if you've got a favourite stockist, keep an eye on them, because as of today, they should be starting to announce that their stock has been ordered and then will be arriving within the next couple of days. So keep an eye on your favourites. On top of that, I will be on Hobby Maker today at 4 PM with this brand new collection, showing you lots of demos. In this little video, I haven't got time to do demos, sadly, but there will be demos following after the shows as well that we'll hopefully be uploading for you shortly. But catch the shows, get to see the demos. Of course, order direct from Hobby Maker if you wish to, if you're a Hobby Maker customer, 4 PM today. I'll also be on again tomorrow with this collection at 3 PM. And the reason I say with this collection is I'm on both days at 6 PM with a brand new designer boutique stamps as well. Sorry, you're going to be sick of me. 4 hours in 2 days. I know it's a lot to handle, isn't it? But let's start off by looking at the collection and see if you like this. This is the first die. This is our panel die. So Wings of Wonder collection, butterfly trellis panel. Now this is unlike anything I've bought you previously. Why I say that is because it's got a lot of scope. There's a lot of ways we can use this. There's 7 different dies actually in the set to highlight that. As you can see, different twiddles and swirls, different single butterflies that can be added to it in any way that you wish to. And then, of course, we actually have the panel aspect. And the panel comes with tabs on both sides. Now, if we skip to the board over here, you might just start to notice, actually, that you have your score lines running down both sides of the tabs and at the base part. Now, they give you the ability to fold this round, and that opens up a lot of different ideas. Of course, we can trim these off. We don't have to keep both sides. We don't have to keep either side if you want to get rid of them, or you could just keep one side of each side, make gatefold cards, for instance, just by using one side on the left, one side on the right, or so on and so forth. Or we can start building them together. So I've got a couple here. So you could simply just fold these back and glue against the sort of tab there so that they join together. And then we could build up to make things like this, which is how I've created my little candle decoration. So just 5 of these put into a circle, glued in that format, so the glue line's pretty invisible, and then they just go back into the middle there, decorated with the dragonflies and the flowers that I'm going to be sharing with you shortly. Another idea that we can do is put a slightly thinner piece of card underneath them and then wrap these parts round the back of the card so it bows up and gives you like a 3D effect. That looks really cool. We can, of course, just glue them down flat on them tabs as well. We can add another score line into there and then just glue one half of it so that they sort of pop up on like a harmonica fold if you wanted to. So lots and lots and lots of different ways. One of my favourites at the moment is that you cut 2 and you bring your flaps forward or your tabs forward, and you're going to do that on both parts, both sides, so that they're up in the air. So we've got the front of the die, tabs coming upwards. Then we take another one and we fold the tabs backwards and we glue that together so that we make a little 3D box. Now that again could be done time and time again, and you could build these forward and forward and forward if you want to. So you've got like a tunnel aspect to it. But if you create something like that and you glue 3 of them together, this is the effect you're going to create. Now, if you've sort of pushed in your score lines, once you've glued this together, give it a little bit of a push in both directions, it will of course be a collapsible object because of it is just an equal shape. So like this, if I wanted to be able to push that down into the envelope and collapse it, I could do. I didn't build mine in that way because I would put this project in a box because of the butterflies, because of the flowers. But if you're postage conscious, it's a different way in which you could actually use this. This butterfly, these flowers, this corner, all coming up in the collection. So we'll get to all of them as well. But this is kicking things off with the butterfly trellis panel, which hopefully you're going to really love that. And I can't wait to see what you create with it. I have a whole nother box, and I'm not sharing them with you because they're going to be on the shows on Hobby Maker, of bits and bobs made by the incredible design team at Creative Expressions. And they've used that panel in some really cool ways too. And I think that this is the thing, an item like that, the only limitation really is your imagination. So you can go off in so many different tangents with it and build such constructionary items, or just cut the tabs off, leave it as a flat panel on your card. The choice is yours, but I can't wait to see what you do with it. Moving on, next one in the collection. This is our Wings of Wonder collection again, and this is the Moroccan lattice border. I love this, but I'm going to say that a lot, so I apologise, but I love this. This one has 3 dies. Again, in the packaging, and I didn't show you this on the last one, but there is some inspiration. Not going to tell you too much, but there's some inspiration. Different projects to what I'm sharing with you today, I think. Yeah, I think we're right. So more ideas on the inside. Dies, of course, are on the reverse for you as well, so that's where they're going to be located. When we come to the board, this is going to give you a little bit away here with our 3 different dies and the options that we have. It's down to us where we put the outside edges. So we have these 3 pieces. We've got this bottom bar or line. If we keep that one away and we keep this one away, we just cut this part, this will actually stay in our cardstock. It's going to bring all that filigree, lacy border into the card and leave it there, which is really, really pretty. If we bring in this bottom part, then as you can see, that's going to cut that away and give us this really lovely finish to it. Again, if we bring this one in, it's going to cut that side away, and we're going to end up with, like we have on the bottom here, just that freestanding lace idea. Because we have the freedom of where to choose to put our, especially this die, but these pieces, we can choose to have that lower or higher depending on how much room we want at the bottom. So like this one, I've gone for a bit of an edge here. So I could stamp my sentiment, I could add my flowers on here, I could put in different pieces to that area, or maybe do a patterned paper. I could then use the same edge to cut away a strip of paper to go in the middle so that you've just got a band of colour going through there if you want to. Lots and lots of options. Another thing to point out with this die, and I'm going to get the die to share this with you, is that the die is repetitive. And by that I mean that you can re-nest it. So once you've cut your first one, you can nest this back into the same holes and cut it again and again and again and again and again. Meaning that the only limitation here is the length of the piece of card you're cutting from. You can always move the card through your machine when you come in to cut it. So if you wanted to be doing this to really large pieces of card, you absolutely could do. One of my samples we'll get to shortly shows you a scrapbook page that I've done, and I've gone for about 11.5 inches and just carried on moving it along to make a really lovely filigree border. So again, absolutely fine to do that. So maybe you want to wrap this as a decoration around cakes or nappy cakes if you're doing nappy cakes, or you want to have it as the edge going around the crackers when it comes to Christmas, or maybe you want to put it around a candle or a bowl or whatever you wish to. You'll be able to cut that to the length that you want to be using it, down to the limitations of your machine and the size cardstock that you've got, and be able to use that as your border element. Now, another part that I'm going to mention with this is that lovely lattice detail. Now, I didn't want to stop with just one item in this collection with that lattice detail. We need more. We need to be able to flow from project to project, keeping that lattice in place, keeping that design sort of language, if you like, from item to item. So with that in mind, the next panel is our dragonfly trellis aperture. Now this one, again, you're going to notice, talking of that sort of design language, we've got that Moroccan lace background in play in the background. On top of that, we've got these built-in swirls, which just give a bit of interest. They give a landing point for us to put flowers, or they make a simple cut for a machine look very effective. So it's up to you how you wish to use them. In the middle, you can see that we also have separate dies. We've got a separate dragonfly, which can be added out here on the swirls if you want to, used on a different project. Then we have the oval with the flowers. Now I'm going to open this out. I'll turn this around so we can get to it. But our little oval This is the oval on its own. We can choose to leave that in there if we want to, so we can cut that with the flowers attached, or we can take that out and leave this as a solid area. So again, maybe you want to use that to do your stamping on in the middle. Maybe that's where you want to put your message in the inside of your card. Maybe that's where you want to add your flowers to. Absolutely fine to do so. You're also going to notice it has a separate deckled edge die. Now this is quite important because this again is where versatility comes in between different items, and we're going to get to that a little bit more in a second. But when we take this one away and we look at this just as it is, that means that this will stay in your cardstock. So if you want that to be the front of your card, if you want to do a multi-panel card again and you want to cut that into every panel across your card, you can. There is nothing cutting that out around the edge unless we bring in a separate die. As I say, in the set you have the deckled edge, but if you don't want to use that, leave that one off. Maybe you've got other nesting dies, like Sue's pierced collection or stitched collection of the nobles that you want to bring in and have wider frames to the side of it. Absolutely fine to do so as well, because it's going to stay in whatever cardstock you wish to cut that out from. Now, while we have this, and we were just looking at that lovely lace border, let's bring these two together for another little party trick. If we bring this in, cut that first, it's cut out of your card, then bring that in and cut over the top of it, you're going to notice that they match up pretty spot on, so that you can then give your panel a decal edge to it. Now, if we cut this in there, as you see it now, this is the style of effect that we would get. Now, I've actually used a scalloped edge, and the scalloped edge is coming up on the next die. So that gives you an indication already of where I'm going with this. But if you want to leave that in there, you absolutely can do. Maybe you would have preferred to bring in these outside edges and actually cut away that top part so that was freestanding. Or maybe you would have preferred to have done it across the bottom. You could have done either of them. Maybe you want to do both and have a scallop to the side. This is the joy of this collection. It's going to give you those options to do that. On the rest of the box, you're also going to notice the next die we're going to be looking at. So not only have we got the lace going around the edges, on the top here, we have a plain background. And this is something, again, I felt was quite important when we're talking about that design language and that fluidity going through all the collection. This is where we need the next parts to match up. And I'm going to jump ahead a second, and I'm going to bring in our next one. Now this one is our lattice background. So you're going to see here, we have a full-on lattice, and around the edge of it, this time we have the scalloped edge. So as you see on the box here, this is what I've used this time. Going back to that die in a moment, but this is that scallop edge coming into play and working around that panel to cut that out. On the top here, it's gone around that lattice part to, again, show you how you can keep that same identity going through the different pieces. So again, with our lovely border here, that could fit on top of this one. It could fit on top of our dragonfly aperture panel, and it can fit on top of our lattice background. So it's down to you which one you want to use, or maybe you want to use all three, and that's the part that you want to sort of identify between them to show that they're all part of one collection. Same again with your decal edge, that will fit around the lace, it will fit around the dragonfly panel because that's the one it comes with, and it will fit around the border as well. So again, it all just matches up, it all coordinates, it's all sort of interchangeable. I would recommend you cut your panels first before you bring in your edges, depending on the ones you're using, but it's certainly a lovely way to make them all tie together. When we go back to our dragonfly panel, this is how they're going to cut out for you, because I didn't quite show you this. So this is the one with the flowers, this is the solid one, and then of course we've got our backing plate below if you would prefer to do that out of maybe a self-adhesive sheet or a different colour and place it underneath these panels. That can work really well, especially if you've got some gilding flakes that you want to bring in and play with. That can be a really fun place to sort of do your self-adhesive sheet, layer it underneath and then flake through the top. Sample I missed to show you, this is of course with the Moroccan lattice border, but again, down the base here, leaving that top die off so that we've got more of an extended panel, giving us the areas to put some bits up there, just as a bit of inspiration. Then this one of course is with the dragonfly aperture panel, actually bringing in, just as you see it really in the packaging, the main die, the decal edge, the flowers in the middle, and the little dragonfly. And then I've mixed here, I've got some of my sentiment collection for my mother sentiment, and then I've got my pierced Christmas collection sentiment panel behind it. So even if you've got my previous collections, hopefully you're starting to see how it's all going to work together as well, which is quite a nice way to sort of build up your collections and see that they're all going to uniform together. Going on to a box. I love boxes. It's a while since I've made a box. So the big box was the first one I did for this collection. This one was one I only did yesterday. But again, another little design for you here. Butterfly on the top, we'll get to that. Flowers coming up, but it's more about this background panel this time round. It's that decal edge. It's that really lovely flourish, giving locations to where we put our flowers. We've got that panel underneath as well. It just all coordinates and works really nicely. Moving back onto our one that we sort of had a little bit of a hint at, didn't we? We had a little sneaky at this one. This is our lattice background. So again, with this one, 2 dies in here. We have our backing panel, then we have our outside scallop edge. Now obviously you're not going to use your outside edge for this, but it is worth you knowing that again with this one we can nest it together. So if you want to go longer or wider with your panel, just cut your first one, nest it back in place, tape it down if you need to on the edges and send it through again. So although the die is of a smaller proportion necessarily to the project you're working on, very easy to tile cut or extend down if you do wish to be doing larger projects with it. That one's going to work really nicely for that idea. Now, one of the bits I felt was quite important with this is, and again, I go back a bit to where I was saying about things coordinating and it all matching, is where we have our dragonfly panel. I really like doing easel cards, and I want to be able to use that as the top of my easel card. But at the bottom, I don't want the same pattern again or the same panel again, because that's going to be a bit too heavy and a bit OTT. So by having the background panel to coordinate with this top panel, knowing that that lattice is working through both pieces, we know then that we've got that sort of, that conversation happening where it's all matching, but yet it's not identical. We can even bring in that outside edge, so we can cut the top panel and the bottom panel out of the same idea. And that's exactly what I have done to create this card. So we have the bottom panel, which of course, as you can see, is the full lace panel, just as it is. Background layered with another panel cut from the same one, using the decal edge, which of course is the decal edge which comes with the dragonfly panel. And then on the front here, we have that dragonfly panel, and we've got the same decal edge. So it matches, it's got that connection as such, but it goes together quite lovely. Butterflies, flowers, all again coming up within this collection. Another card that I'll share with you as well, and I shared this on my Facebook page, and it's the one that's got the most likes so far out of all of my little sneaky peeks from this collection, is this card here, which is so easy to do. It's literally just 2 card blanks, and then you just take the 2 card blanks. So if you imagine that's card blank number 1, and then card blank number 2, and stick them together over one panel. On top of those panels, I've then used my different panels to actually make the sort of threefold effect. And as you can see again, although we've gone for 2 different inner panels, it's all been nested inside the decal edge panel so that we've got that sort of conversation working between them again. Butterflies coming up shortly. Flowers again coming up shortly. With Love and Niece are from the Sentiment collection, which is already released. And then again with this one, just to show you, very easy how we could turn this into a box. You added a 4th side, or maybe you want a triangular box. Very easy to take the same idea and turn it into a box if you would prefer. So maybe you're looking at that and thinking, well, actually that would make a beautiful gift box. There's no reason why you can't do that with it as well. Moving on to the next one. So where are we? We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're on to die 6 if I'm counting correctly. And we're on to our corners. Now I haven't shared that much with these, so this might be a bit of a surprise, but there's actually 2 corners in our set. Now, our 2 corners consist of this beautiful like metalwork style corner, which I really love, especially for men's cards. It doesn't have to be for men's cards at all, but I can see that ironwork being done. Maybe put your embossing powders over the top of it, do it in golds or blacks or nice anthracite sort of, you know, vintage styles. Some of our Andy Skinner's mixed media embossing powders might work really nicely. Really grunge that up. If you don't want to, keep it pretty. Go for pearl cards, that will look lovely. Then we have our cherry blossom corner. Now I've shown you lots of the flowers already, so you're probably on this already, but that flower within our corner matches the flower set we'll be looking at in a moment. So if you want to use that as a location to build your flower up on top of, you can do. If you just want to keep it so that it all coordinates and you want to keep those ones flat, but you want to build up, then you can do. It's up to you. On the inside, a little bit of inspiration for you again. A couple of the cards I'll be sharing with you shortly. This is how they look when they're cut out. You'll also notice with the cherry blossom corner, all that deboss work that's going on in the swirls here to really bring that to life. A really good place for you to rub your inks over and bring in a little bit of a contrast. One of the cards that's on the inside of that packaging is this one, and this is my twisted easel. So again, you're going to notice the lattice background going on in the background here, nested actually in one of Sue's Noble dies, so we've got a wider frame to it. Then we've got the corner elements added on in all of the corner areas, with the flowers built up on top from the separate set of flowers I'll be sharing with you shortly. Dragonflies in the middle, and then a daughter from the Sentiment collection, and another one of the pierced Sentiment backing plates that come out for the Christmas collection. Again, bringing it all together and showing you how it's all going to work in different collections, but all work together. Then talking of this, and I mentioned how this corner I felt was possibly one that could be quite masculine, and some of you might have thought, oh, well, I don't know, do I need many men's cards? This is a completely different take. This is a scrapbook page that I have shared on Facebook already, so you might have seen it, but a scrapbook page that to me is looking very wedding, maybe golden wedding, maybe prom, anniversaries, different bits like that maybe, that you want to bring your photos in and put them inside. Now, I haven't glued down my corners so that they're more like a little pocket for me to be able to tuck my journaling or my photographs into. That lace border in the background there, that's our Moroccan lace border. That's where I've extended it out. So as I mentioned, just carrying on cutting so that you can have it for a wider area. And then these flowers are ones that we're going to be looking at in the next set. So let's skip on to those. So I've lost count now where we are, but another lovely die for you to look at is our cherry blossoms. Now in this one, 12 dies, you've got your flower heads in 4 different sizes. I like to give you 4 sizes because sometimes if you only give 3 and you put 3 layers to a flower, you end up just keep remaking the same size flower. And it's quite nice to give you the 4th so that you can make them in different sizes, so you've got more variation to your displays. So that's sort of the plan here. You'll also notice that you've got leaves going off in both directions. You've got your stamen parts as well. On the inside, more inspiration, dies on the reverse. This is what they're going to look like when they're cut out. And you should hopefully notice the deboss work that's going on here on the petals of the flowers. So again, if you want to bring in some ink and rub that over the top, that's going to look really lovely. The little card to share with you on this one. This is actually using the lace background panel, wrapping it around so it's more like a cone, or like the cellophane that your flowers would come in, and then your flowers actually coming out the top here, all just raised up on different height foam pads. Quite a proud card, this one, or quite a high card, but a nice way to 3D them flowers, give you some real depth. The lace border in the background has been cut from both ends of the card, so on one way facing outwards, then flip it round, cut it on the other end as well, just to make a nice background. Mother from the Sentiment collections, little butterflies, again you will find those ones in with the panel die that we started off with in the beginning. Then moving on, I'm going to share this one with you. While I've been talking about the flower, this is Gold Mirror Card. And I've cut this from Gold Mirror Card. I've then taken a black STASIL ink pad and I've just rubbed it over the top. So that gold veining will all shine through and give you that really lovely detail. This vein is also perfect for going in with a gel pen and adding colour to if you'd like to. But while we're here, let's chat about the dragonfly. So the dragonfly is our grand butterfly. That's this little one here. And this again is a separate die in this collection that you'll be able to purchase. And it will come in its own little packaging like so. Again, ideas on the inside to give you some inspiration on how to use it as well. Another little card to give you an idea with that one is this one. So this time we've got our dragonfly going on, we've got our flowers, we've got our lovely lace background in the background there as well. But again, quite simple, pretty, easy to do. Just rubbing the ink over the top of the flowers to keep that debossed veining in there as well. So we've got that coconut white shining through. Then the last one I'm going to share with you is our butterfly. Now, we have seen this on lots of the projects, haven't we? Endless projects, but this is the grand butterfly. This is how it's going to cut. This is what it's going to look like. When it goes through your machine, not only will it cut, it will add in sort of these little debossed areas, which I find really, really pretty. When we bring that together and actually turn it into a card, this is just one simple card that I've done. I've just cut several of them out of coconut white. I've laid it onto a self-adhesive sheet and I've used the chocolate gold gilding flakes, which are actually a limited edition colour from Cosmic Shimmer, over the top to cover up the rest of the self-adhesive sheet. Really easy to do, and if you like the look of the flakes, they too are on my shows on Hobby Maker today and tomorrow. This is just a small glimpse of the samples that I've got to share with you. I've personally got more, and then of course we've got our incredible design team who have done a whole box of them that I'm hopeful that I'll be able to share with you on Hobby Maker. So if you haven't already seen more sort of posted around the Facebooks and the interwebs, then do keep an eye on Hobby Maker. As I mentioned, I will be there today, which is the 28th of February at 4 p.m, and then I'm back on tomorrow at 3 p.m. with this collection. I will also be on both days at 6 p.m. with the brand new designer boutique collection. If you have any questions about this little lot that I've shared with you and you want to know more, just pop the questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. It would be lovely to know what you think, and as I mentioned earlier, I truly can't wait to see what you get creating with this little lot when you get your hands on it. Released worldwide today, so do check with your favourite Creative Expression stockists to see if they've got theirs yet. I'm sure they'll be posting about it shortly. Thank you very much for watching this, and I can't wait to see you at 4 o'clock today on Hobby Maker, and again tomorrow at 3 p.m. with this collection. Bye for now.